This hangout is live on air.
Whoa. So it says, oh, now it says live.
There's
Okay,
a
I'm
little
ready.
delay.
That's right.
Like, like Dean Ambrose burning his shield vest. We're flaming on.
Oh, man.
Oh no, what's up with the shield?
Seth Rollins just shaking his head like, no, man. That fire is a little too close to the car for safety reasons. It also looks a little fake.
The flames or the car?
The flames.
Oh, I'm sure it's a controlled flame hidden behind a barrel thingy or in a barrel thingy. All right.
All right.
Are we ready to get out there and cast the pods?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea to throw gasoline on something that's in your hand, so this way your hand gets gasoline on it. And then put it in your other hand, this way the gasoline gets on your other hand.
It's exactly the same way we build this podcast.
With flames, baby!
And on that note, we have our pre-show audio, so we can start the broadcast in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Geekodrome. Geekodrome is a weekly roundtable discussion of all things geek. I am Jon, and I am joined by Stugots. Now, we had so much we wanted to talk about today.
Oh my God, so much.
I mean, we both saw Bohemian Rhapsody this weekend.
I loved it.
I did too. I started watching Daredevil this weekend. It's good. There was just other cool, fun little things we wanted to talk about. And then I go online.
I want to talk about the outrageous cost of a refurbished PS4.
Wow, that is an outrageous cost. And, even Venom is now made more money worldwide at the box office than Justice League.
It's nuts.
But we're not going to talk about any of that shit. And maybe we'll touch on Venom a little bit. But it's because I, flipped on the internet at lunchtime today. And what do I see? The headlines. And no, it's probably not any headlines you're thinking of because it was Stan the Man Lee has passed away at the age of 95.
So young.
I know, so young, vibrant, full of life.
Picture perfect health.
Seriously. But he was pretty much one of the architects of our childhood.
Oh, man. I would go further and say he was an architect of American pop culture.
I would agree, especially in this modern era.
You look at where we're at now with things, okay? Movies, TV shows, podcasts. There is not a aspect of media that Stan Lee has not touched in or influenced in a positive way.
What podcast do you think he did influenced?
This one, even though it's a bad one, but it's still been influenced by him. I mean, no one listens, but that doesn't mean it. It comes from all things geek, the geek culture, the Greek Renaissance at which we live in today. Influenced by him, Hey, just because comic book movies are popular now, that doesn't mean they didn't exist before. I mean, there were TV shows in the '80s. The Spider-Man TV show in the '70s, for example, the Batman series. I know that's DC, but you wouldn't have that. That all comes from Marvel. DC Comics wouldn't be what it is today without that competition. Without Jack Kirby leaving Marvel, and him being pissed off at Stan Lee for whatever their reasons were. They
credits and money.
Mad at Marvel, I should say. Money. So you wouldn't have a lot of the characters you have at DC if it wasn't for Stan Lee moving Marvel in the direction that it did.
So what was your first exposure to Marvel and Stan and all that?
The old Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends cartoon that, I don't want to say it was 30 minutes of that. It might have been 15 minutes. Maybe it was 30 minutes. I don't remember because it was the 80s. And then what followed right after was the Incredible Hulk, and Stan Lee had like live bumpers, or live action bumpers in it, where he's in his office talking, to fans, somewhat narrating what was on the screen. And I didn't know who he was at the time. I really didn't. I was still a kid. I didn't know. I mean, I watched the Spider-Man TV series, when it was on, and the Captain America movies because I love that stuff. I was a kid. That was the
Oh, yeah.
best. For the time. I mean, it doesn't hold up, no, but nothing holds up. So seeing that, it's like, oh, okay, I know who Spider-Man is. I don't know who Iceman or Firestar was, and I knew who the Incredible Hulk was. One of my favorite superheroes. So I watched that, and then I was like, oh, who's this guy? Oh, it's Stan Lee. Okay, he's the guy who created it. Okay, who created all that, that stuff. All right, cool. I was on board. I use words like "nuff said" and
Excelsior.
I do. I say that. I say it all the time. So that all comes from Stan Lee. That's all stuff like reading the Stan soapbox in the Marvel comics. That was sometimes better than the actual comic.
True. Yeah, I mean, slightly before Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, I got into the 1969 Spider-Man series in reruns because I'm not that old.
Then there were the cartoons in the 70s. The Spider-Man does whatever Spider can.
Yeah, that's the 1969 series.
Okay, there were shorts, and there was Iron Man and Thor. Yeah, I forgot all about that till just now.
Yeah. So, but Stan Lee had the voiceover as the narrator in the Spider-Man series. So it definitely was the first time I heard his voice. Obviously his voice is all over those comics. It was the first time you heard him say "True Believers" and
I say "True Believers" all the time too.
Oh yeah, and all of that stems from him and his soapbox. And then he really did make a huge impact because in my life as a kid, the Incredible Hulk live action TV series was on.
Oh my god!
And that was huge.
Yeah.
And it's really not remembered as big, but Hulk was as big as Spider-Man at the time.
Yes.
Very easily. I mean, Captain America was big, but he was more of an icon than an actual character.
And I think that's what people try to, because you see how the Hulk character doesn't transcend to a solo movie. And so people dismiss it. But when you look back and you see how big that TV show was.
I think it's really just those movies. I think a good movie could be done. I just think it's the two that they made weren't quite up to. So I really like the Edward Norton Hulk parts for the first 2/3 of the movie. I like.
Yeah.
And then it falls apart in the third act. And I don't know how much of that is Edward Norton's fault, because he's accused of rewriting a lot of it.
Yep.
Just because for vanity's sake.
Do we even hear from him anymore? Is he done anything?
Well, he was in Birdman, which was really good.
Oh, I forgot he was in that. Yeah.
That was good. Yeah. I'm looking quickly just to see what else he's been
I'm just curious, only because he got such a terrible reputation after that Hulk film.
Let's see. Going quickly, he has a movie in post-production now called Motherless Brooklyn. He did a voice in Isle of Dogs. And then
I loved Isle of Dogs. It was a hot pick one week.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
So good.
I love Wes Anderson. But Collateral Beauty in 2016.
Nothing big, so he's done.
Yeah, he did a voice on Ask the Story Bots. He did a voice.
The fuck is that?
It's a kid's show. You must have kids.
Stupid. I have kids. Well, they're not that young.
Yeah, exactly. He did a voice in Sausage Party. Skipping. Birdman and The Grand Budapest Hotel both came out in 2014.
Okay.
So those are his last real roles.
Okay.
Those, Collateral Beauty, and then whatever it is, Motherless Brooklyn that comes out next year. So he's just been, I don't know, taking a break or something. But yeah, that Hulk movie, it just doesn't stand up. And the first Hulk movie is a mess at best.
Definitely. definitely.
So as much as I like the character and I want to like those movies, they're tough watches.
Yeah, they are.
So yeah, so the 80s really didn't have a lot of live action superheroes, but it was a big time for the cartoons. So we had like Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends and things like that. And then the 90s, the cartoons just sucked, with the exception of like X-Men.
And that was only good at first. For me, it got bad pretty quickly.
You know, I haven't watched it in years. But I always liked the Batman cartoon better at the time.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
But yeah, but then you had like crappy cartoons like Fantastic Four, which you linked me to a clip of this last week.
Oh, that was a good clip in the context that it was sent.
It was so awful.
No, it was awful, but when it was the context of it.
Yeah, it's the guy's comment on it. Comes in like a wrestler.
And then all the comments that followed were awesome.
Yeah, where it was just Ghost Rider drives in, gives the penance stare to Galactus, and then drives off. And it was just being compared to like Hulk Hogan doing a run in,
or Steve Austin runs in, drops it, gives the Stone Cold Stunner, and then leaves.
Yeah. And then it was just everybody kind of riffing on that.
Yeah.
And that was very funny. But that cartoon was shit. So was the Iron Man cartoon. So was I'm trying to think what the other block of shitty
Wildcats.
Well, that's not Marvel, so it doesn't count.
I know, but everything. I'm just showing you everything in the cartoon wise sucked in the 90s. Nothing was as good.
Sir, you take that back until you admit Batman the Animated Series.
Oh no, to me that's totally different. That was done so well that it wasn't a kid's show. Everyone could have watched that.
And remember, it did start in prime time.
Yes, and it wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon. Even the Batman cartoon from, I want to say maybe 8 years ago, was good. Batman, it's funny how DC can nail cartoons but suck at movies, but Marvel rules at the fucking box office and does such great films and sucks for cartoons.
Yeah, they're hit or miss. They have some decent ones in there, especially since Spider-Man has a new cartoon every other year.
And I know it's going to all change for them with the Spideyverse.
I can't wait to see Into the Spider-Verse.
So now with the Stan Lee passing, what happens with his cameos? Did they have the Avengers 4 cameo done?
Avengers
CGI it?
Avengers 4 is supposed to have been done filming.
Okay.
So I think it's okay.
I know, but I still see stuff about reshoots and the movie's going to be longer than expected. So that's what gets me worried that, oh, wow, maybe they didn't do it yet.
Well, when Guardians 2 was done and Stan did his cameo in that, James Gunn recorded about a half dozen cameos at that time.
Okay.
He went on Twitter and said, I have recorded a bunch of Stan Lee cameos so that, the next few movies are set.
Oh, good.
So I don't know how far that leads. It could be, just up to Avengers 4. It could be, a little longer. I'm guessing we'll see him at least through Spider-Man next year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to hear like maybe one movie after that, but that's a stretch because they're not really filming the 2020 movies yet.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even know if we really know what they are at the moment.
Oh, we went through them once. I don't remember.
Yeah, but everything was kind of announced up until Avengers 4, then Spider-Man, and then it kind of drops off a cliff.
So, all right, so we'll get one for for Captain Marvel. I keep wanting to say Miss Marvel, and that's not right. We'll get one for I know she becomes, that it is, but it's not. It's Captain Marvel. So I know we'll get one for Captain Marvel, and we'll get one for Avengers. We'll get one for Spider-Man. All right, so 3's good.
Yeah. Plus whatever other things he's recorded for like cartoons or video games.
Yeah.
Because he even has a cameo in the Spider-Man video game.
The PS4?
So, the PS4 one.
Oh.
So he's in one of the like in the back of one of the missions, early in the game.
Okay.
So it's at least we got a little cameo there. It's always fun to play the Lego Avengers games because it's one of the things you have to do is rescue Stan in every level.
Oh, cool.
So he's like announcing, I'm the king of cameos. And, I've done it again. Stuff about how the game is only better because he's in it. And it's always funny. it gets a little repetitious when he's only got like 4 lines and
and you see him 12 times.
12. It's more like 20.
Oh,
But it's yes. But it's fun and it's Stan. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love Stan?
yeah. Oh, you got a little Lego.
So I have a little custom Lego minifigure from Minifig FX that I actually picked up last summer of Stan Lee because I wanted to do something and then I never got around to it. Oh. So eventually, I maybe I'll work on it soon. I just time and building Lego, 2 things that one I want to do, one I don't have. But hopefully, eventually, still.
Oh, well, what do you not have?
Time.
Oh,
I was training for a marathon, and it took up way too much time.
I get you.
But that is done, and I'm retired from marathons.
Yes.
So, half marathons and less from now on. So
good.
But yeah, so I have little Lego Stan Lee to remind me of.
Listen, I actually have a question.
Okay.
For you. What do you think professional wrestling would be like without the comic book influence?
Well, I think that the comic book influence now is more subtle. I think that changed in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because most of the characters are not larger than life like they used to be.
No.
It used to be characters, Macho Man, Hulk, and those were fucking comic book characters.
Without a doubt. Hulk Hogan was right out of a comic book. Even the name.
Yeah.
The Incredible Hulk Hogan. I mean, the Hulk was the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yeah. Up to the point where like they have to have a legal agreement.
Yes.
Over it. Whenever Hulk appears in anything, it's Hulk is property of Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
And they make a little coin off that. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it really is. It's become more subtle. Like you get less of those characters, although then you get the guys who are big fans, like Hurricane Shane Helms.
Oh, and Raven. I mean, the whole Raven character was right out of Sandman book. He would quote Sandman in his promos.
Oh, yeah. No, he was grunge guy who really liked comics. But Shane Helms was coming out in the masks and capes.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes Marvel, sometimes DC, sometimes other. But when he was in ECW, he was wearing like the icons of those heroes. Like off the top of my head, I know he was wearing Green Lantern.
Well, he became Hurricane Helms, and that was all green, and he had the mask, and he had a secret identity. Shane Helms, who was a reporter.
Yeah. And again, it was that over-the-top comic book reference.
Yes.
And, even a lot of the wrestlers themselves have admitted they're comic book fans.
Yeah.
You see like on social media how some of them will visit Marvel Comics when they're in New York.
Yeah, yeah.
At the invitation of Marvel. So it's just like there's definitely that crossover. And again, it's the characters are kind of blow-ups now, but they're a little more grounded. Right now on screen I have Baylor, McIntyre, and Ziggler.
I was looking at Finn Balor's hair because I think I want to do my hair that way a little bit.
Oh, you totally should.
Because it's pretty close to that already.
Well, Baylor Club is for everybody, so
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Baylor being the demon.
Yes.
Is there anything more comic book than that?
No. I love when he comes out as the demon.
Yeah, exactly. He comes out.
I mean, he's a big fan of Venom. I mean, if you ever look at his New Japan makeup that he wore regularly, it was Venom.
Oh, nice. I'll have to check that one out. I'm only familiar with like the WWE.
Oh yeah, no, he did a Joker for a while. He was like he had a Joker getup. He had a Venom getup. I only remember seeing this in an interview once. He was being interviewed with the girl who did his makeup when he was in Japan, and the reporter asked her how lucky she was that she got to work on touching Finn's body fat like 2 or 3 hours, and he interjected with, I think I'm pretty lucky. Here I have this beautiful woman rubbing makeup all over my body for hours and hours.
Well, it's a lot longer than the baby oil, so
yeah.
But yeah, there is definitely the influence there. I mean, but comic books, reference or influence, not reference, so much. Like
Yeah.
even just movies, TV shows. There's definitely that soap opera element that crosses between like actual soap operas and comic books.
Yeah.
But there's also that just the soap operas just extenuate like real life, while the comic books kind of just are larger than life.
I read and here we see Charlotte Flair wearing a Wonder Woman T-shirt in the promo backstage. I read a 20-question interview with Stanley from Playboy in 2014 today,
which he only picked up for the pictures.
Well, I only read they posted the interview online.
Oh, okay.
I guess it was already online, but they posted the link to it today.
They posted the link, yeah.
So I read it before, and so there were no pictures.
Oh, sorry.
And he said that comic books are the fairy tales for adults, and it never surprised him to see so many adults reading comic books because that's what he wanted. He wanted to be someone who made adults read comic books.
Well, I have said for years that comic books are our modern mythology.
Definitely.
I think that's going to be a lot of the of what our current society kind of leaves behind, like Norse mythology and Greek mythology. Yeah. I think what you'll find are like comic books will outlive our current society.
There's an awesome book about the religious beliefs of major comic book heroes based on their actions and character. Not to say that they're not to say that that's who they subscribe to, character-wise, but like that's who the character's morals like align with more. It was always a very interesting book. I read that about maybe 10, 15 years ago. It was very good.
I'm afraid of that one. I missed out on that one. I'll have to check it out.
I thought I shared that with you at the time.
You may have, and I just didn't read it at the time.
Mm.
It happens sometimes.
Yes.
I get stuck under a stack of books like this one.
What do you got there?
I happen to have here a copy of Amazing, Fantastic, Incredible, Stan Lee.
Oh, nice.
A marvelous memoir.
Oh, that was his book.
So it's Stan Lee and Peter David and Colleen Doran.
Oh.
And a buddy of mine whose girlfriend works for a publisher, like hits me up at Comic-Con, texts me, he's like, go to her booth right now. Buy a ticket to buy the book, and it will be autographed. When you pick it up, it will be autographed by Stan Lee, Peter David, and Colleen Doran.
And Peter David, if you don't know, wrote comic books for a long time. Some of his best work was on Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yeah. He wrote Hulk for at least 10 years straight.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact dates, but it's just great because it's sort of a comic bookish story of Stan's life.
Oh, nice.
And again, it's his version, so, you get what, you're expecting. It's fantasy.
That's fine.
But who cares? It's awesome. Oh.
Yeah.
Somehow there's comic books have fallen into the back of it. I had no idea these were back there.
Oh, nice. A little surprise.
A little surprise.
And how long ago was that you got it?
I want to say 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
So my buddy Lincoln helped hook me up with that. And so it's like I buy it Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday morning, first thing, like stands at a table where it's just like you come, you pick up the books, and Stan's just kind of sitting at the end. But because I was one of the first people online, I was kind of able to kind of get close to Stan and go, thank you, and shake his hand.
Oh, awesome.
After two people did that, his manager was standing there going like, people can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm like, I shook the hand that shook the world.
Yeah.
So I don't care about everybody else. Didn't get a picture with him because my friends who were at the con just got there later than I did.
Yeah.
So I would have had him like grab a picture while I'm, at the book and at Stan. But unfortunately I didn't. So I have pictures of Stan, but not me with Stan.
All right. At least you got that much. I would love to have gotten that.
Yeah. So it's nice to say I met him once.
You look at Comic Cons. There's a Comic Con every weekend somewhere now. A big one. I don't just mean like a small one, like a flea market has a bunch of people selling comic books and junk from their garage. I mean like big Comic Cons that people go to and their signings. I mean, and he was still doing those, and that all comes from him. Like, I mean, he was still doing those up till recently.
He officially retired last year,
Yeah,
and then still did a few like at the beginning of this year. But he pretty much every con he went to last year was, it's the last time you'll see Stan at this convention or in this city. And little did we know.
yeah, that was true.
So it's unfortunate because I mean he was still an ambassador for the art form.
Yeah,
He was still putting stuff out up
I
until
mean, he
like,
had his PAL Entertainment.
yeah, and he's had a couple companies before that. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's still a few things that were in the pipeline that he was working on that we'll see in the next year or two. So I mean, the man was so prolific. And the fact that at 95 he was still more active in the industry than people half his age.
Yeah,
It's really impressive. I mean, allegedly he slowed down and was
well, he had
having
a pacemaker.
well, slowed down and had personal issues after his wife died.
Yeah,
As I was about to say. Unfortunately, she died 2 years ago. It might be a little longer. But yeah, and then just he had issues with his personal assistant, managery person, and yeah, that it's not worth going into that. You can look it up online. But the fact that I mean, it was still in legal wranglings up until today.
wow.
So yeah, um, yeah. But I mean, the man was just so amazing, and he still is. And it's just like the loss is really like losing Walt Disney.
Yes.
Like it's that level. It's losing Steve Jobs. It's, there's so few people who are on his level. I don't even put George Lucas on his level.
Yeah, I don't. George Lucas. I mean, George Lucas created a single universe of characters, and he had to write the movies. He had to produce the movies. He had to help direct the movies. He had to come up with so much. But at the same time, to me, it's just like, it wasn't Stan Lee.
He spent, let's say, 10 years on 3 movies, took
Yeah.
a 20-year break,
Yes.
and then spent, a few years on the movies came out 6 years apart, another 8 to 10 years on, the prequels. So he's not prolific. Like Stan was writing how many comic books a month and keeping it all straight.
Oh my God! At one point, Marvel was putting out like 50 to 60 comic books that he was taking care of.
Yeah, but he wasn't
the writing of, and then he had to oversee them when it got to be too much. He had to oversee them being produced.
Oh yeah, no, he was the editor in chief even after he stopped writing or slowed down on his writing.
Yeah,
and it was like decades. Like it was just like nobody wants to write this. Here, you do it.
Yeah,
and he just kind of turned it to an art form. Like he would go out with his wife. People would be like, "What do you do?" He'd be like, "I write children's books."
Oh yeah, he said in the Playboy interview at one point he was embarrassed to say what he did.
Yeah, I've read biographies on him before, and yeah, he would be like embarrassed to say he writes comics for decades. Like it literally wasn't until like the 70s or 80s where he was like Stan Lee in public. And then, once, and even then it was still considered a children's thing, but it wasn't as looked down upon.
Right.
So it's just like, oh, you make kids books. And it's really like unfortunate because some of his stuff is amazing. It's really dry to read some of those old ones.
Yeah.
I mean, because part of it is the stories are so compressed. As they say now, we have decompressed storytelling, and what they do in 6 issues, Stan would do in 6 panels.
Crazy.
I mean, the Spider-Man origin in Amazing 15 is how much? It's 6 pages, 8 pages.
And now it's 15 movies.
Well, when they rebooted and did the what is it? The Spider-Man Unlimited? Is that what? Not yes. Unlimited.
Homecoming?
No, the Brian Michael Bendis series when they rebooted the Marvel Universe. It's gonna bother me.
Also, the Ultimates.
Yes, the Ultimate Universe. Thank you. Why did I blank on the word Ultimate? So when they did Ultimate Spider-Man, it took 6 issues before Spider-Man became Spider-Man.
Oh my goodness!
Like before he got bitten by the spider, and it's just like this is
Stop it.
this is the direct, you know, complete decompressing. Like just get to the story.
Yeah.
We want the Spider-Man, and we're getting the story of Peter Parker, kid from Queens.
Just bite the fucker already.
Exactly. But I mean,
the only way I want to see a Peter Parker story where he's not Spider-Man is when they get into his parents being S.H.I.E.L.D. agents.
Those are okay. I think there are great stories with Peter and Aunt May.
Yes.
I think when the story is Peter talking about the repercussions of having the powers.
Yes.
And the story, there are definitely Peter stories to tell. And I don't mind that there is stories that are just about Peter Parker. But the fact that it was just like spending 6 issues to just get him bitten by a spider and put on the stupid costume just takes fucking forever. And you're just
okay. I was about to ask, did it take a year before he put the costume on? Jesus.
I want to say it was in the first 6 issues. Like he gets that. I think the part with the wrestling was also in there.
Bonesaw is ready.
Oh yeah,
it's Bonesaw.
Yeah, which was awesome to see in the movies.
Yes.
But yeah, I forget what the name of the character is in the comics. But yeah, they have the wrestling bit and they have the shady promoter, and it's just like great. We all know this part of the story. You almost could skip it, jump ahead to the good parts.
What I liked about the current Spider-Man is when Iron Man goes to Queens to talk to him to try and recruit him, and he asks him, "So how this happened?" He's like, "It's a long story, not worth telling." Like, that's right, because we know it.
Yeah, so I don't mind if you spend a minute retelling the origin. But it's like when the whole it's Spider-Man, it's Batman, it's somebody who we know the story by heart.
Yeah.
Then I don't mind. Like, to a degree, Captain Marvel's going to be an origin story.
That's fine because we don't know her story.
Exactly. Doctor Strange. He's been in one movie once before, and that was in the 70s. All right, you could do an origin of him, and it's okay. But it's just like
eventually when there's a Green Lantern movie, I won't mind an origin. I won't, because it's something I haven't seen 1,000 fucking times.
Yeah.
Are you reading people's comments or something?
So Paper Doll Gunmal's in the chat.
Yeah.
And she wanted to remind us of, and I quote, I'm going to read her words exactly here.
Okay.
Guys, we're forgetting Stan's greatest work, Stripperella.
Oh, that's right. Stripperella with Pamela Anderson.
Yes, that awful cartoon.
I remember one day my sister calling me saying, and I'll just say that Vince was like, my oldest nephew Vincent was, I'll just say he was 14. I don't know how old he actually was. Let's just say 14.
All right.
And my sister's like, hey, he was watching some cartoon last night that I'm not sure what he should be watching it. I'm like, all right, this is when, South Park was, getting popular and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, what was it? She's like, well, I'm asking you because I know you would know about this. I was like, okay. She's like, Stripperella? I was like, no, he shouldn't be watching it.
Nobody should be watching it. It was awful.
No one should. I think that was my follow-up line because it's god awful.
I tried to watch it when it first started.
I did too.
And it's just, oh God, all right. So a lot of the stuff that Stan did after leaving Marvel, not necessarily good.
Yes.
But again, I don't know how much of that he actually wrote and how much it was just his.
And it was just like, hey, put your name on this and we'll give you 10%. Okay.
Yeah, because like a lot of the stuff he was doing in the last 10 years, it was Stan Lee Presents.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he didn't write anything. I'm just saying he didn't write most of that shit.
Yeah.
It was god awful. Although I will say I did enjoy when it was Stan Lee imagines the DC universe.
That was pretty cool.
That was 15, 20 years ago already.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was a long time ago. And it was just fun because it was reimaginings of the characters. And
Yeah, yeah.
Like 12 issues or something, 10 issues.
It was nice though.
But it was just cute, and it was like we never saw them again. So it is what it is. I can deal with that, but oh god, Stripperella, they wanted to make that a thing.
Yeah.
I can't decide which is worse, that or barbed wire.
I was just about to ask you that.
Beat you to it. Yeah.
Don't drink to forget, Barb. Drink to remember. Listen, you little motherfucker that's blind sitting at the end of the bar. I'll drink for whatever reason I want to drink for, okay?
Hey, Jack Nosworthy was dead at 17 on MTV. And that's really where his career went, too. So, you know. What are we going to say? That he was in the fucking Brady Bunch movie?
He was a dick in that. Well, he was supposed to be a dick. So
he was supposed to be the dick in that. But really, can you name anything else besides those three things that Jack Nosworthy was in?
God. I mean, let's see. Barbed wire. Was it Bon Jovi videos? Yes. Bon Jovi videos. Yeah, yeah. And the Always video. He was in a couple of Bon Jovi videos.
Okay. Where
he was acting, and his acting was terrible.
Oh, of course it was.
I hope he's listening. We should put him in the thing, the breakdown for the show. So if he glamour searches himself, he'll listen. And listen, the only reason I said you sucked is so that you will maybe say, who are these fucking jokers?
I'm looking. So I'm looking at his IMDb. I'm sorry, it was dead at 21, not 17.
Okay.
But yeah, he was in the Bon Jovi Always video.
See
here. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is stuff I haven't heard of. He was an extra in Encino Man.
Of course he was.
He was in Alive. SFW. I vaguely remember that movie. Brady Bunch, Barbed Wire. A bunch of movies I've never heard of, like The Trigger Effect. He was in Event Horizon. Idle Hands, which of course he was. Oh, he was in U571. I vaguely remember him in that. Cecil B. Demented. So he did some movies here and there. Undercover Brother.
Oh yeah, Undercover Brother.
Everybody loves that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just skimming. It's a lot of crappy movies. But he's in more movies than I am. So
yeah.
Which
is the only reason that I said he sucked. This way, listen, dude, you're in movies. That's okay. You are famous. People do know who you are when you walk down the street, probably.
No, they don't.
Oh, I was just trying to be nice.
They might have 20 years ago. But no, not anymore. So what? All right. So we're not doing hot picks this week, we've decided. And instead, we just want to focus on Stan. So instead of hot picks, what do you think is Stan's greatest legacy? What is his most influential thing that he has ever created?
Well,
and a secondary, what is your favorite?
My favorite would be the Incredible Hulk TV series. Definitely.
Okay.
His legacy is going to be those cameos in the films.
Yeah.
Because it bridges every generation. It's old people who go see those movies, and there are old people who see them. They know who he is. These young kids who see him get to find out who he is. And then there are people like you and me who know who he is and look in the movie for when he comes on screen in those cameos and pop for him.
He always gets a big pop.
And I could just imagine that in the Captain Marvel movie, when his cameo comes up, I imagine people cheering. Because I know I will when I see him.
Oh, it's going to blow out the theater.
The same thing when I see him in Avengers 4. I will do the same thing. I will start cheering for him.
Which was his cameo in 3 again?
The school bus driver.
That's right. He was Peter's school bus driver.
Yeah.
Yes. I couldn't remember. I was thinking it was the Watchers, but that was Guardians.
Guardians 2, yeah.
Yeah. Which was funny as hell.
Yeah. But that was the theory, is that he was a Watcher.
Yeah, it was a fan theory. And again, it
was a fan theory, but then here it is, James Gunn placated to that, and used it. So it was pretty smart thing to do.
Yeah, and again, the other thing is that like the post-credit scenes aren't always canon as much as everything else.
No.
Like, is that's the kind of stuff they half ignore, half pay attention to. But we may never see the Watchers again, so it wouldn't,
Yeah.
matter.
And
So
then I was in the movie theater having to explain who the Watchers were.
yeah, well, that's the other thing. Like, we had to explain to all the non-comic people who came with us to these movies. So the Watchers are these people who come from another universe who just watch, and this one guy watches over our whole universe, and there's one in each of the multiverse,
and they don't interfere.
They only watch; they don't interfere. And the one on our universe is Uatu, and he stays on the moon, but he only appears at major intervals in humanity. It's just like
yeah.
Try.
But what's funny though? In the Highlander series, there was a Watcher.
Yeah, but there was also in the Buffy series.
I know. I'm just saying, like it's a thing, like that other people have ripped off or borrowed.
I don't know if they borrowed as much as just kind of used the same name. It's not necessarily the same.
But the same premise. And I don't remember how it is in Buffy, but in Highlander, he didn't interfere. He was just there to witness and chronicle.
In Buffy, they do that. Plus, they mentor.
Okay.
Like the Slayers are mentored by a Watcher, but the Watchers
for the Highlander series, it worked well because it gave the Highlander someone to actually like talk to who could relate to him somewhat.
Besides Richie?
Yeah, besides Richie.
I used to love that show.
I love that show. It was so good.
So, I got to say that, I don't know, my favorite Stan Lee creation was better without Stan. And I say that lightly, but I'm a huge X-Men fan.
Yeah.
And I have been for years, but really it's Chris Claremont's version of the X-Men I love.
Oh, yes.
Stan lit the match, and it was Chris who added the tinder.
Yeah, and gasoline.
And gasoline and fireworks and gunpowder and the nuclear bombs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that man wrote it for what, 30 years?
Oh, man.
20 years straight?
Yeah.
But I think that besides the cameos, Stan's greatest creation and the most influential and the one that will have the most lasting effect, if not the biggest, headline, will be Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
It's the first family of the Marvel Universe. It's at its core, it's a story about family, but they have superpowers. And it's really what all of these stories, they come down to. Even Peter Parker, Spider-Man, it comes to being about family. You're the dorky kid in high school, and it's about just being the outcast. And all of these stories really are. They come down to the core of you're an outcast and not fitting in and kind of rising above it. And I think that was Stan's gift. That people could identify with his characters.
Yes.
Like, my favorite characters growing up were like Spider-Man and Batman. And as much as I want to, I could never be Batman. But I could see myself as a kid being Spider-Man.
Right.
Like, we all have those problems, especially once you're like getting to that age where the character was. And it's like, having trouble getting girls and being smart and nerdy and having trouble talking to people in general.
You never catch me white and nerdy. Never catch me white and nerdy.
No, you can't. But it's even Weird Al did songs about superheroes.
Did he?
I want to say he did. Did he not? At the very least, he influenced people.
Dude, I have no idea because I am not a Weird Al fan at all.
I enjoy his music. So, all right. So now I got to look. Weird Al superhero songs. He did an ode to a superhero, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So there you go. He had a Spider-Man song. So even there, Stan's influence.
Yes.
But that was Stan's gift, that you could see yourself. Like the X-Men. They were outcasts and, they were saving a world that, hated and feared them. They were the outcasts who found each other. And together they kind of formed a surrogate family. And I think that is really what the core of what everything Stan was about.
I agree.
So, and I think on that note, we can move on. But if you want to hear more Geekodrome, a little less maudlin, you can check us out at geekodrome.co. Check us out talking happier stories on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. You want to talk more Stan Lee, hit us up at Geekodrome Pod on the Twitter, Geekodrome Podcast on Facebook. I am John, and I am at Twitter at just John.
You're at Twitter?
I'm at Twitter.
Oh,
I'm at Twitter right now. I'm on it. I'm in it. I'm over it. I'm under it.
Ooh.
I'm all about those tweets and Twitters and Tweedles and Tweedledees and Tweedledum. And if you want to do the same to Stugots, he's at Don Stugots on the Twitters.
Yep.
And
stop by and say hi.
Rather than the usual closing, we'll just end with Excelsior.
Excelsior.